Being a movie enthusiast, I see things differently. I see things like how I see a movie. Just like in every story, there's the villain, hero, protagonist, antagonist, the good and the bad. I see them like a Hollywood set, where producers and directors create something that makes us believe is real, but in reality, it's just staged. Reading the two books helped me understand how government intervenes in ways we don't know and how media shapes public opinion. Russian Revolution and Putin's depiction, America's primordial Hollywood set, a staged reality of carefully selected actors and script writers. Starting off with the book Wall Street and the Bolshevik Revolution by Anthony Sutton, the book delves down deep into the events that happened in Russia. Its premise brings out a controversy that Wall Street financiers, predominantly Americans, played a huge role in orchestrating and supporting the revolution for money, control, and power. Putting on my movie lenses, I've thoroughly identified the main producers and directors. In this case are the Wall Street financiers, mainly William Boyce Thompson, Thomas Lamont, Charles Crane, Olive Ashburg, and President Woodrow Wilson. As it is a stage play, the main actor that was prominent throughout the book was the notorious Leon Trotsky, who was a Russian revolutionary and internationalist during the 1900s, which played an important role in carrying out the Bolshevik Revolution. The irony of it all is that they made an unnatural pact that contradicts what they stand for, the connivance between a capitalist and a communist. Truly a match made in mayhem. As the saying goes, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. In 1916, the year preceding the Russian Revolution, internationalist Leon Trotsky was expelled from France because of his participation in the Zimmerwald Conference. Due to his banishment, he traveled to New York and then to Petrograd with the use of an American passport authorized by Woodrow Wilson, the US president during the 1900s, accompanied by a Russian entry permit and the British transit visa, to carry forward the Bolshevik Revolution. First is the passport. Then there comes the Red Cross mission. Seeing this in the movie viewpoints once again, William Boyce Thompson is the main producer of this ploy. He was the director of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, who contributed $1 million to the American Red Cross mission in Russia, a mission that is an undeniable intervention in the guise of welfare assistance. It served as an operational vehicle to send lawyers, financiers, and assistants from Guaranty Trust and National City Bank who disguised themselves as doctors. This allowed Wall Street to have representatives that will be in place to politically maneuver the ongoing revolution. Imagine this bottle of baby powder as a Red Cross. You normally think it's carrying some harmless personal baby care product, which are the doctors. But in reality, it's being used to smuggle these highly addictive bags of cocaine, which represents the lawyers and the financiers. From point A, being the US, to point B, being Russia, without raising a suspicion. Easy, right? To add, there's always a supporting cast that propel the story forward, with the likes of
Thomas W. Lamont, Director of Guaranty Trust, influenced the Prime Minister of Great Britain to claim that the Bolshevik Revolution would come to fruition, which led to the British policy to cease resisting it.
Olof Ashberg, Swedish banker of Jewish descent, funneling funds from the German government to the Russian revolutionaries, who would eventually bring down the Kerensky regime and establish the Bolshevik regime.
Charles Crane, a wealthy Midwestern industrialist and a close friend of Woodrow Wilson. I was able to organize a joint venture between the Westinghouse and Crane companies in Russia. Through this, I was able to participate in the first and second phases of the behind the scenes of the revolution.
These important people help behind the curtain for the play to go on and, as a matter of fact, run smoothly. Having said all of this, the entire play revolves around the past events in Russia as a vulnerable country. The Bolshevik Revolution served as a vehicle of monopoly capitalists to have control of Russia's captive international market. where these capitalists, in this case the Wall Street financiers, made it possible for the Bolshevik Revolution to happen by funding it and revolutionaries collaborating with them. Actually, this is not the first time it happened. This is not something new. It also occurred in the forms of Sun Yat-sen's Chinese Revolution and the Carranza forces in the Texas Revolution. We choose to see the convenient story showed on stage, but little do we know about the sin behind the scenes. M.S. King made use of a satirical narration wherein he puts Putin on a pedestal to show how the US bullies him and how media alters his motives in order to frame a negative image in people's minds. In reviewing the book, I used the same drift, the movie analogy. The producers are namely the globalists and media, while the actors in this play are the presidents, in which we have this perceived notion of them being in authority, calls the shots, and make decisions that benefit the society. In reality, there's an existence of a higher power to try to put them under their control. This form of manipulation can be seen in events that globalists tap into, starting off with the most infamous event that happened in modern times, the 9/11 terrorist attack that happened in New York and DC. Bush and the globalists leveraged on this disastrous event as an opportunity to blame Osama and Al-Qaeda. This drew attention from the public and gave them a reason to retaliate and continue the attacks on Afghanistan. The next major actor in this play is the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama. He is an instilled figure of the White House who is affiliated with the globalists. He seemed to be the noble president that everyone was waiting for. However, he's really a form of deception for non-white Americans to believe that he is the savior, and merely uses his color to insulate him from criticism and scrutiny in order for him to push forward his schemes. There were claims that Putin heavily despised his gays that I will mention later on. Obama took advantage of this issue as he added fuel to the fire by bringing retired gay athletes into the Olympics to once again stir up the controversy. And Obama used Bobby Costa's talk show as a platform that criticized Putin and Russian human rights. With globalists wanting the concept and movement of unity towards all nations, they influence other countries that favors their will and liking, and countries and leaders who oppose the movement will be oppressed and shunned. And the most popular person who opposes these globalists is none other than the main actor of this play, Vladimir Putin. For Putin, he didn't allow himself to be controlled by these higher powers. Instead of Putin being drawn by the oligarchs, Putin played with them until he would be strong enough to crush them. And he did. He regained control of stolen enterprises, natural resources, oligarch media, and associated tax revenues. Because of Putin's resistance of the globalists' control, media put him in a bad light. Here are some media coverage on how globalists demonize Putin. The first case is the attack by a punk band named Pussy Riot, who are a group of NGO agitators. They caused a disturbance in church, so they were arrested and given a 2-year jail sentence by Putin. This caused the international countries to get mad at Russia and called Putin a tyrant. After the Pussy Riot fiasco came the misinterpretation of the anti-gay laws. Putin tried to clarify the misconception that gay people have nothing to fear in Russia as long as they leave our children alone. But people in the Western media put it in the wrong way and showed that Putin was being anti-gay. Media, painted by M.S. King, should be telling us the truth, but they clearly don't. It goes to show how media can frame people into a certain image. As well, how important figures are favored by media, no matter how much dirt they have. It reveals an ironic tale of the evil hero and noble villain. In both books, I realized that producers and directors have a glaring resemblance. Their intention is to be in full control, and they do this by manipulating actors. Actors who appear to people as uncompromising leaders who have the power and the ability to drive a major impact towards society, such as presidents and revolutionists. But despite that, they are drawn into being manipulated by a higher power, such as producers and directors like globalists and financiers. therefore making them us puppets and lapdogs. So what's my take on two books? It highlights one-sided thinkers, those who take side in a situation, and mirrors how they think in the narration. Media is at fault of this because it influences people and makes them one-sided thinkers, in which shapes public opinion. Bolshevik, on the other hand, unveils how capitalists and revolutionaries compromise what they stand for in order to achieve self-serving interests. Opposing views come together to achieve a common goal. Both books are an exposure, exposing the nature of US intervention in different ways. MS King hooks its readers through emotions and entertainment, while Sutton is less engrossing because the evidences are laid out in a straightforward manner. Media's contents, facts, mostly news, aren't that grounded, but storified. At the end of the day, it's still media that we are talking about. It is the most effective form of communication because it influences our subconscious perceptions without even realizing it. That's why we need to develop the skill to identify what's credible and what's not through research, you know? Knowing the truth goes beyond entertainment. Yeah, it's mostly boring and it takes hard work and virtue to discover it. On our part, we should go beyond what's entertaining.